This video, we're going to talk about Dan Matula, one of our newest success stories for the sales consulting program. Now, Dan's one of the boys down in Miami living the fast life, crypto bro, exotic rental car lifestyle. I'm kidding. Dan took a little bit of a different journey for joining and finding me in sales consulting, but nonetheless was able to implement, take action, and land one of the largest business funding influencers. I'm actually quite amazed at the size of account that he was able to land, but better yet, the terms that he got the deal on. But don't let me spoil it for you. Let's go ahead and jump into his story right now. What's going on, guys? Kaleb here, and I'm on with Danny. Danny, how are you doing?
Doing good, doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well, even better after hearing about the deal that you closed. It's been a little while now that you've been working with the client. And so today we're going to talk about exactly that. Danny is a member of the sales consulting program, and he's gone on to close his first client, and a pretty darn good client at that. So today we're going to talk about his journey and really how that all kind of came to be. I guess before we even hop into it, where were you at prior to sales consulting? What was kind of your background or your career even before even hearing of the subject?
Yeah, most definitely. So I started off in actually cybersecurity consulting some years ago, and I'll never forget this. But someone in school, like old fraternity brother, actually, I was a recruiter for that organization. And, they asked me what I was doing afterward. I said consulting. They laughed in my face and said, I
Wow.
could sell water to an ocean. And I kind of laughed it off, like, oh, like who wants to do sales? But fast forward, doing consulting for 2 years, Big Four, ate my life, and decided to just quit cold turkey, go off and kind of do my own thing for a little bit. And a friend of a friend that I'd stayed in contact with through like crypto bull run. He joined one of the biggest cybersecurity companies within the space as the lead software engineer, and he said, "Hey, like you should come check this out. Like we got dudes doing like 10 to 20K a month," and I'm thinking to myself, like, "What do you mean 10 to 20K a month?" So I joined, and that's kind of like my first like sales experience, like legitimate sales experience, of joining as like a business development representative for the startup. We had some
Wow.
insane hyper growth, learned some things, what worked, what didn't work, and then eventually left that, joined a few more teams. Eventually, are staying in the startup space all the way up to being head of or director, whatever you want to call it, of business development, sales, managing teams, whatnot. But I was doing it for one particular organization. I actually have it set up in a way now, thanks to this program, that I can handle this, and kind of take a step back in my role and kind of keep it fractional, but
Mhm.
keep the same, whatever pay structure, whatnot. And they're okay with that. So I came across,
Incredible.
fractional sales consulting and Kaleb, and I was kind of curious, piqued my interest. And what actually, started was I think I got into closures into consultants or something. Kaleb
Yeah,
put something out,
free
yeah, about
community.
pricing, pricing your services. And I was looking at it, I was like, oh, I could do this. So I had a conversation with Kaleb, was going through some stuff. I'm like, all right, I need to change, and decided to pull the trigger. This was in December, but I got the content, didn't really like go through like holidays, whatnot. Again, was like dealing with some personal matters, and went through January, went through the content, like got the system down, realized like saw it for like what it was, and just put it into practice. Here we are.
Yeah. No, incredible. Now, prior to the whole sales consulting, so that whole sales journey that you had there, how many years with that combined, or how much time were you kind of in that?
Total years, 7, 6, 7.
Okay, so a
Yeah,
decent amount of experience coming in. That's a big question that a lot of people have is how much experience should I have coming into this? Now, do you feel
yeah.
like that sales experience you had prior served much with the sales consulting, or do you feel like, if you had maybe half or a tenth of that time, you still would probably be able to do the same results that you
Probably,
were over here?
yeah, probably half, honestly. Going from like, regular SDR to like actually running like a whole organization, and learning everything in between. Learn what works, you learn what doesn't, and just
Hmm.
having that experience, I guess, like helps per se. But even if let me just preface by saying, even if I didn't have that like tail end like leadership experience, it's like being like ground level, you see the system from like looking up, so you already know like how it works. So if you have to step into an organization, run a team, like you've already been there.
Yep.
Don't think because you
Right.
never had that title or whatever, like you wouldn't be able to do it, but you absolutely can.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Now, no, was consulting something that you'd already had in your mind prior to finding fractional, or was it, like showed up in your feed and it was like, oh, I think this is an interesting opportunity? How did you kind of even find the idea?
Well, um, yeah, I was doing a little bit of research, right? Because I was thinking to myself, oh, how can the whole agency model coming out? Say, okay, how can I kind of gear my skills towards that? So like, oh, what if I got like a sales agency? But then like the more I thought about it, dealing
I
with
think I
certain
actually
overheads.
remember you. I think I remember you talking about that when we first. You were like, "Should we do a sale?" Yeah, that was like your first question. What's the difference between like sales agency, regular agency, and this? And I was like, they're kind of there's a lot of similarities and a lot of differences. But yeah, you were saying.
Yeah. Yeah, and you've actually forwarded me a video and I watched it. Like that sounds terrible. Um, but yeah, I didn't, there's a lot to deal with. Like, it just felt like, eventually scaling that would be kind of rough. I guess with this, it's yeah, like you say in the videos, you can make a good living if you like do it right. You get, good enough clients, good enough like a good enough
Yeah.
contracts. There's it's niche and there's definitely room to grow and do what you need to do and like be comfortable per se.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And now, what was like that straw that broke that inspired you to join the program? I guess you took honestly a different journey than the vast majority of people. You had actually gotten that, you picked up something really small that we had, and then you started it a little bit small, kind of eased your way up. But what was ultimately maybe the shoe or the straw on the camel's back that was like, okay, let's actually pursue this?
I can't remember what it was. I think you sent me like one of your follow-up messages or something, and I was like sitting there and I'm like, I I think I was like, you know what, like let's do it. Let's just do it. And from there, and I was kind of stressed out of like my like VP role, like main organization. And through this, like through what I learned, it's like, oh, like from like a mindset perspective, and actually understanding, it's like, okay, I can position myself a certain way, and even if that means like cutting back on responsibilities, and like even if it does result in like taking some sort of cut, I know I'm going to make more because like that time I'm getting back, and the lack of expectation I can utilize to get more clients and apply the framework of like being a sales consultant.
Yeah, I think
So
you really hit a core part of it there, which is like, it's that comfort, I think, to take a step backwards before taking a step forwards. A lot of salespeople don't want to let go of that momentum they have of just being in the pocket as a closer and chasing the sales and letting that kind of build on top of itself. But, one thing you had kind of really committed to, I remember on our first calls, you talked about just like, and I hit on it, it's just leverage. It's like you can forever be, the guy on the calls doing that song and dance. But I'm sure you see after 7 years that will only really get you so far. And so being able to, okay, take more of a leadership or director type position where you just have leverage. But I wonder how much maybe you'd seen that prior in your roles too. And then maybe that makes it more comfortable with understanding what comes with that. Now, what do you say met your, like, what were your expectations and, how did it kind of sit compared to what you were like expecting? Was it there? Was it above? Or like, what was maybe your favorite part of the experience?
yeah, I mean, I didn't really have expectations going into it. I think it was just how you framed it, um, and the information that you had at hand. What I realized is that prospects, they love they love if you have like documentation, right? Like,
Hmm.
a lot of these people I'm talking to, like I've talked to, it's like you show them the preview of the what is it the diagnosis doc, and it's like, oh wow, like this guy like really knows what he's doing. So
Yeah.
yeah, so it's like things like that, and if you actually like know like what you're doing in terms of like data and like what that looks like they appreciate that too. So I just think like realizing like what I had like in terms of skills, and what I didn't think were like actually valuable skills are actually valuable. Like these people, like not these people, like a lot of organizations like really don't know sales. They don't know like CRMs. They don't know a lot of these things that we think is like so trivial, but
Right.
like are yeah, huge things. So um yeah, yeah.
Definitely. I think that plays perfectly into the deal you're with now. So we talked before this, you'd found your deal through, some sort of underground, you've got your own strategy for that. But if you want to talk, you're working with a decent sized person. So it goes to show that, you guys can land pretty large contracts. But yeah, tell us a little about your deal. How is it kind of set up? What does your work look like and what's expected of you?
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. So I guess we'll talk like numbers first. So that's what all like people
Hmm.
care about. So it's a 5K retainer plus. We're still working out the details on revenue share, like top line revenue. But that's all like hammered out, and I'm paid bi-weekly of the month. So
Hmm.
basically, what my responsibilities are is responsible like funnel, like leads coming in via funnel, and I'm just making sure that sales members or sales teams are trained up, know how to close these deals, how to approach it, and just bringing money in the door. And whatever comes from that, we're looking at okay, total leads gotten, who's answered, and who's closed. Looking at that ratio, and then the top line comes out of that. So we're just kind of looking at that, but also too, they want me to take more of a role over like the entire organization. That is kind of the first part, but we're going to revisit
Hmm.
the agreement, as that goes forward.
Yeah, no, definitely. And how long now too have you had this client?
18 days.
18 days.
18
Okay.
days.
Yeah, so still fresh off the press. And how would you say this compares, or how would you describe this, for someone who maybe doesn't understand what this work looks like compared to like that person's just a high ticket closer? How would you kind of say this differs, like the pros and cons, and if it's something that's for them?
I mean, it's cool. You just coming up with the strategy, making sure people implement that strategy. And, I also do have the option to get in there and close, but like truthfully, I like I'm like the offers there, like, a lot of these clients probably will let you do that. But,
Yeah.
it's not necessarily appealing. Like we're here for one specific reason, and we just have to
Right.
remember that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's golden. And what do you see over the horizon? So you've got this client, and you're working with them through the process. But what do you see comes next?
Well, yeah, let's make sure that we can get this up to like a well-oiled machine and we just run the playback and get more under belt
Yeah.
and go from there.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, and so for anyone who's watching, well, for anyone who's a skeptic, right? I think, I remember you had found this at a very interesting point, in your career and even just stuff that you had going on. And I think, the thing that, I mean, you actually moved pretty quick without a lot of direction by comparison to a lot of people that come into it. Like, I think you've got the bias for action all the way down. And so maybe I think that's definitely one thing that served you as far as getting the kind of client that you did. He wasn't the first person to, you had pitched a couple people, and this was the first one that really stuck on it. But what would you say for that person who's a skeptic? Maybe he's on the fence thinking about, not wanting to make a change or is unsure. What would you say?
Why not? Like, what do you have to lose? Honestly, I mean, yeah, what do you have to lose? At the very least, like you learn a new system, kind of how to look at things differently, and you could definitely leverage a lot of this information elsewhere. But yeah, do it. I think it's valuable information. I don't want to reveal too much, but the content is I didn't know what I was going to get, but when I got it, I was like, oh wow, like I'm happy that I got it through this medium than like something else, and it was framed this way,
Hmm. Yeah.
So
That's great.
yeah.
Well, I'm glad not only you liked it, but you got results with it. I think that's the key is, it's not about learning it, but being able to apply it. And so the fact you're
Oh,
able to execute as quickly as you did. Hmm.
one more thing. Caleb, absolutely here for you as well. Like, if you have questions or like panicking, like you might, if you go in there, you might feel a little bit of like imposter syndrome, like, no, I'm here, but like, don't sweat it. Just talk to them. Like they got your back, actually.
Yeah, I remember you had joked on one of the calls. You were like, "So you guys are just like actually available?" And it's like, Yup."
Yeah. I was like, damn, like I thought I just bought this and you're just gonna tell me to kick rocks, but you're like actually here. Okay, cool.
Yeah, no, truly, and we provide that because it's like that's something. I mean, that's just like proper learning, proper mentorship, and also like we care about you guys. The fact that you got the results that you have, we want to make sure that this client's sustainable. You can see that all the way through and get a good contract value out of it. Because yeah, you worked hard, you got a pretty damn good client, so it's like you deserve to be able to keep that, make as much as you can from it. So, but yeah, with that, you heard it here first. That's Danny. And if you guys are curious to become part of this yourself or to learn more, somewhere around this video, there should be a link for you to set up a time, speak with me directly. And yeah, Danny, any closing notes or final things for anybody watching?
So they can reach out to me as well, ask me questions. I'm happy. I'm an open book. So
Sweet. And what might be the best place to reach you?
good question. Instagram at DMAT2_DMAT2.
DMA2 _. Yeah, and give him a follow too. He's one of
Yeah,
the OGs of FSC. So
let's
we'll get you
go.
out your jacket sooner rather than later. All
Yeah,
right.
gotcha.
Excellent. Well, yeah, you heard it here first, and I'll see you guys in the next one.